Now that you've learned how the deck works, you can see that it's actually pretty simple. But it's this simplicity that gives the deck of changes its infinite potential. In this video, we're going to learn 4 games, each centered around a different symbol on the cards. Let's take a look at the first game. This game is called Change Clock. It's a single-player game, and the symbols it uses are the hexagrams in the center of the cards. Begin the game by shuffling the deck and placing it face down on the table. Deal a card from the deck face up in the center. This is going to be the central card for the entire game. Next, draw a card from the deck and determine how many changes occur between this hexagram and the one in the center. Once you know how many changes there are, place the card in the appropriate zone. This card has 4 changes, so it goes in zone 4. Time yourself and see how fast you can sort the whole deck. Beat your best times to track your progress, or compete with your friends' times to see who can do it faster. Change Clock is a great warm-up game that improves your ability to quickly determine changes between hexagrams. Now, let's take a look at our next game. This game is called Hex. It's a chance game played with 2 to 6 people, and the symbols it uses are the tiles along the edges of the cards. Begin the game by shuffling the deck and dealing the cards face down into one of the following arrangements: 19 cards for 2 or 3 players, 36 cards for 2 to 4 players, or 61 cards for 3 to 6 players. Once the cards have been dealt, flip the center card face up. Players then take turns flipping over cards and counting the changes along the adjacent edges. Points are scored like this: 1 point for 1 change, all the way up to 5 points for 5 changes, but if there are 6 changes along one edge, that's 10 points. Players continue to flip over cards, adding the points to their scores. Sometimes there are 2-side plays, sometimes there are 3-side plays. Make sure you add up the changes along all the adjacent sides. Once the last card is flipped over, the player with the most points wins. Hex is a great game to play with friends and loved ones, and it improves your ability to count the changes along the edges of the cards. These first 2 games are both great for beginners, but now, let's learn some games that are a little more challenging. The name of this game is Countdown. It's a memory game you can play with 2 to 4 people, and the symbols it uses are the gold values along the bottom of the cards. The gold value represents the card's place in the deck. This is card 1, this is card 2, all the way up to card 64. Begin the game by separating cards 1 through 19 from the rest of the deck. Shuffle these cards and deal them face down in an arrangement like this. The object of the game is to collect cards in descending order from 19 to 1. Player 1 begins the game by flipping over a card looking for card 19. If the card they flipped over isn't a match, it's flipped back over and the next player's turn begins. If it is a match, they add its gold value to their points, remove it from the table, and get another turn. All cards are worth their gold value, except cards 1 and 2 are both worth 10 points each. The game ends when the last card has been removed, and the player with the most points wins. Countdown is a fun and competitive game that's great for your memory. Speaking of memory, I hope you have a little space left to learn one last game. This game is called Light and Dark. It's a battle game played with 2 players, and the symbols it uses are the light and dark values on the bottom of the cards. Begin the game by dealing the deck into 2 piles of 32 cards. Each player takes half the deck and draws a hand of 4 cards. The youngest player places a card from the top of their deck in the center. Whichever value is lowest on the card will be the numbers that are used for that round. This card's light value is lower, so that's the one we'll be using. Let's take a look at a round so you can see how the game is played. Player A has already played a card in the center. Next, player B plays a card from their hand with a higher light value than the center card, like this, 16. Player A now plays a card from their hand that's higher than that, like this, 30. Players go back and forth until either a player can't play a higher card or both players have played 3 cards. Whoever played the highest card in the round wins, collects all the cards, places them on the bottom of their deck, and deals a new center card for a new round. The game is over when one player has collected all the cards. That player is the winner. Light and Dark is a great game to play with a friend. It improves strategic thinking and is just one of many different battle games that the Deck of Changes contains.